Welcome to Daily Harmony. Today we're diving deep into a really specific idea from A Course in Miracles.
That's right, lesson 157.
Exactly. Into his presence would I enter now.
And that word now is, well, it's pretty central, isn't it?
It really seems to be. So our mission today is figuring out what that actually means.
Yeah.
Entering God's presence now.
Yeah, not as some, far-off event. What is this presence? How can you, listening right now, access it?
And why does shifting to this now perspective matter so much? We've got some study guides, briefing documents.
Resources that kind of break down the lesson, give quizzes, summaries, examples, all focused on this one idea.
Okay, so let's start there. God's presence, it sounds big. What are our sources saying it is exactly?
Well, they consistently frame it as like a state of being. A conscious awareness, maybe?
A state of being, not a place.
Right. Not somewhere you go physically. It's more like tuning into something that's already here. One briefing doc explicitly says it's always accessible.
Always accessible. Okay. So it's about connection.
Yes, a conscious connection. And it's deeply linked to what the sources call divine love.
Divine love.
Yeah.
What kind of love are we talking about?
Unconditional, all-encompassing love. The kind that, originates from God, from the source. It's the foundation of this presence.
Like an underlying reality.
Exactly. A constant current we can tap into.
Okay, but if it's always there, always accessible, why the need to enter? What stops us? The materials mention the ego.
Ah, yes. The ego. That's presented as the main distraction.
Distraction how?
Our sources define it as that part of us that identifies heavily with the material world. Our bodies, our possessions, our separate sense of self.
That feeling of being me versus you or the world.
Precisely. And it's often tangled up with fear, judgment, and this feeling of being cut off, separate.
So the ego builds walls, essentially.
Kind of. It creates this perceived identity based on externals. One source points out how the ego tricks you into thinking your thoughts are actually you.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Like confusing the thinker with the thoughts.
Yeah. Exactly. And seeing that difference, realizing you observe your thoughts, you aren't defined by them, that's a huge step toward loosening the ego's grip.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So if the presence is always here and the ego is the distraction, why the big emphasis on entering now? What's the significance there?
Because the block isn't God being unavailable. It's our own focus, where we put our attention.
On the external noise. The ego's chatter.
Yeah. And lesson 157 is saying, look, you can choose right now in this moment to shift your focus, to consciously step into that presence.
In doing that,
Yeah.
what does it achieve?
Well, the sources frame it as a direct path to inner peace, real peace, and clarity, a deeper sense of who you truly are beyond that ego identity.
It's an active shift in attention.
Definitely. As one document puts it, it's about seeking a relationship with the divine rather than just operating from the ego's limited, often fearful viewpoint.
It sounds like it takes effort, though. An inner journey, as the materials call it.
It does involve an inner shift, yeah. The phrase entering into God's presence is used almost like a metaphor for this inner work.
What kind of work?
The work of forgiveness and healing. It means actively looking at and releasing the fears, the guilt, the belief in separation that the ego thrives on.
Letting go of that stuff.
The idea is that God's presence is this space of total acceptance and love. So when you enter it, judgments and grievances, they just don't have the same power. They kind of dissolve.
And that leads to healing.
That's the connection the sources make, yes. Inner healing flows from that space.
So what's the payoff for doing this inner work, for entering now? What do we actually experience?
The promise is pretty profound. Liberation. Liberation from fear, from guilt, from that painful sense of separation.
Wow. And peace.
Yes, true peace. The kind that isn't, dependent on whether things are going well outside. It comes from that internal connection.
Finding a stability within, regardless of the chaos without.
Exactly. Stillness that the world can't really touch.
Okay, this is compelling.
Yeah.
How? How do we practically do this? With jobs, families, all the daily stuff.
The sources give prayers.
They absolutely do. Meditation is mentioned quite a bit.
Like traditional sitting meditation.
Yeah, setting aside some time, even just a few minutes, to be still.
Yeah.
Focus on your breath. Maybe visualize entering a peaceful, quiet inner space.
A space where you can feel that presence.
Or just be open to it. The key is gently noticing distractions, thoughts, worries, and just letting them drift by, returning your focus, not fighting them.
Just observing.
Okay. What else?
Affirmations are another tool. Simple, positive statements you repeat.
Like what? Give me an example.
Things like, I'm in the presence of love right now, or I choose peace now, or simply, I enter God's presence now.
Little reminders throughout the day.
Exactly, like mental anchors to gently pull your awareness back to that connection.
Makes sense. And you mentioned breath. The material hints at stillness and breath, too.
Yeah, it's tied into the meditation, of course.
Yeah.
But even outside of formal practice, just consciously taking a few slow, deep breaths, that can be a mini entry point.
A pause button for the mind.
Sort of. A brief moment to just to break the cycle of constant thinking and doing and reconnect with the present.
I like that. A micro meditation.
Hmm.
What about reacting to things? There's something about pausing.
Yes. That connects directly back to the ego. Our impulsive reactions, anger, defensiveness, often come straight from the ego's fear or judgment, right?
Definitely.
So the suggestion is to consciously pause, just for a beat, before you react to a trigger.
Create some space.
Exactly. Create space between the stimulus and your response. In that space, you have a choice. You can choose a response from that quieter, more aware place, rather than the ego's knee-jerk reaction.
Interrupting the pattern, I see. And journaling, reflection, how do they fit?
Well, journaling is great for reflecting on times you did feel that peace or connection. Writing it down helps you recognize it, understand it better.
Makes it more concrete.
Yeah, and daily reflection is about consciously thinking, okay, how can I invite this presence into my day-to-day? What might be getting in the way? Keeps the intention active.
So it's about developing this ongoing awareness, which brings us to that contrast. Ego distraction versus divine stillness. That seems key.
It really is. The ego loves noise, doesn't it? Worrying, planning, regretting, all that mental static.
Keeps us busy, focused, outward, or on time past and future.
Precisely. And that constant noise effectively drowns out the possibility of experiencing that quiet, divine stillness within.
So entering the presence is like changing the channel.
That's a good way to put it. It's consciously choosing to tune out the ego's static and tune into that deeper, peaceful frequency, that connection to divine love that's, well, always broadcasting.
If we choose to listen.
If we choose to listen. And the lesson title itself hammers this home. Into his presence would I enter now.
Right. That immediacy again.
It's crucial. It's not saying I'll get there eventually. It's saying the door is open right now, this very instant.
Stop waiting for perfect conditions or some future enlightenment.
Exactly. The opportunity is always present. The sources really encourage making this choice to enter, to connect, a regular conscious part of daily life, shifting where you place your primary focus.
So wrapping this up, the big takeaway from Lesson 157 isn't about achieving something distant, is it?
No, not at all. It's about recognizing and accessing something already here, already within you, right now.
It's an internal shift.
Yeah.
Turning away from the ego's illusions.
And turning towards the constant reality of divine love and peace that's your true nature.
And that reflection question from the study materials really nails it. What does entering into God's presence mean to you, and how can you make this a more regular part of your daily life?
It's such a personal invitation, isn't it, to actually explore this, not just intellectually, but experientially?
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be some huge dramatic thing.
Not at all. As the lesson suggests, even small steps, a quiet moment, a conscious breath, repeating an affirmation with feeling these can be powerful ways to step into that presence.
It really flips the script, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Instead of chasing peace out there by changing circumstances.
You find it in here by changing your focus, by accessing that constant inner connection.
This lesson is a potent reminder, then. The doorway is always open. It's just waiting for us to choose to walk through. Right now.
Right now.
So, for you listening,
yeah,
what might actually shift if you consciously chose, even just for a moment, to enter his presence now? Something to think about.